What's going on, everybody? I wanted to give my take on this Kanye Tim Pool fiasco that just went down last night. Thought it was pretty interesting and worth talking about. So, if you didn't see it, it's all over the internet. I'm sure it's easy to find. Kanye dipped out of the Tim Pool podcast, Timcast IRL, after about 20, 25 minutes of discussion. Tim was sort of pushing back on him a little bit, and then Kanye made a point to say, like, hey, if this is going to be another Lex Friedman type interview where, if you saw that interview, he got challenged quite a bit. And at some point, I think Lex was just sort of on the offensive, you could argue, for sure. Maybe, took it a little too far. Maybe, not quite what Kanye signed up for. And, he made a point. He was like, if this interview with Tim is going to turn out like the one with Lex, I'm going to leave. And, Tim pushed back a little bit more. There was some squabble where they were like, Tim asked him, who's they or something. Kanye said, like, they are doing this, they're doing that. Talking about, his whole thing is he believes that sort of the Jewish people have like sort of established like a power dynamic at the top of these different institutions, and it's sort of the Jews who are collectively after Kanye. And I'm not actually going to pass judgment on that either way, whether that is true or false, because I was honestly interested in when I saw that these people were announced for the podcast. I was honestly interested in hearing them out, and I was like, wow, they finally get like this platform. They got Kanye, Nick Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos there, and I'm like, man, they actually have this big platform to sort of say what's on their mind, try to articulate a case for what they believe that obviously a lot of people think is incredibly controversial. But it's like, all right, here they are. This is going to be great. And, I see a lot of people giving Tim Pool crap for this. Like, he took an L, or he fumbled this big guess. I'm honestly surprised to see so much of that feedback. I think there's a lot of hardcore Ye supporters and probably even kind of Fuentes fans as well that sort of have this like combative attitude. In my opinion, I don't think Tim Pool pushed back that much to that degree at all that warranted this walkout. I thought it showed incredibly sort of thin skin from Ye. I just didn't think it was a good look. I think it was a misjudgment on Ye's part, and I think that if you are going to kind of go on a show like the Timcast IRL, you've got these obviously controversial beliefs. You need to be ready. I think you need to be ready to sort of elaborate on this stuff. You need to sort of have at least a compelling argument. And like I said, I was down to listen to it. And Tim goes, "Hey, who's they?" And Kanye's like, man, and like gets out and leaves. And it's like, Kanye, if this is such a big deal for you, if this is such a big deal for you, stay and have the discussion. Like, could you imagine if Tim is like, who is they? And Kanye is like, is this Jewish guy, this Jewish guy, this, and he names like all these people, specifically like what position of power they're in, what they've been doing to him, how they've been colluding. And so I'd be like, all right, maybe we got something here. Maybe, I'm not going to just write anybody's perspective off. But obviously something kind of controversial like that, you need to be willing to present a compelling argument, and I think that is where Ye and the entourage, I think they just sort of absolutely failed in that instance and just looked really bad. First of all, Kanye was getting very upset. Not very upset, but that's not true. He got, annoyed, and he stormed off. Right at the moment where he stormed off, they were kind of, Fuentes started speaking for basically the first time on the podcast, and I was like, okay, Fuentes, he's like an expert in this stuff, right? Like, he's gonna actually start to dive in to specifically where they're coming from and why they feel the way they feel, and we were gonna have this discussion, and people are always talking about Tim interrupted Kanye, Tim interrupted Ye, and Tim dropped it. Fuentes was getting ready to speak. It wasn't just a Kanye interview. This was a trio that had showed up, and I think we wanted to hear from everybody. They're all compelling guests. And as soon as Fuentes is getting ready to speak and present his case, Kanye decided to do the walkout. And so the main person that interrupted, the most egregious interruption, was Kanye walking out, and which basically disallowed Fuentes from speaking. Now, Fuentes, he didn't have to follow him, I guess, but it's kind of a tricky situation when you've become Kanye's new entourage. You're, I guess, in a position where you probably want to try to stick with Kanye. I'm sure that he sees some sort of opportunity there, as does Milo. You don't want to be the guy that abandons Kanye when he's sort of taken you into his entourage. I'm sure that has some kind of perks to it, I guess. But it was Ye that left, and which didn't give Fuentes the ability to speak. So you didn't hear anything from Fuentes, anything from Milo. I think at the very least, if Ye is getting annoyed and perturbed, he needs to, at least he could have sat back and let some other people do some talking. And you don't have to be the one talking all the time. I think Tim was giving him a lot of opportunity to speak. I don't think Tim was interrupting him a lot, but even, if you're getting annoyed, just back off a little bit and let your entourage speak a little bit. He literally was there, with the two most talkative political sort of personalities that have this controversial viewpoint. I think they're probably both could articulate things and debate these things better than Kanye himself. So at the very least, step back and let these other people talk for a little bit. It's not just about you in this case. I think a lot of people tune into the podcast not just for Kanye, but for this trio and what they were going to kind of, the discussion that they were going to kind of have. But Ye just pulled the plug. I think that's sort of the thing that annoys me the most about this is, it's one thing for you to get annoyed if it's just him there himself. He leaves, and everybody sort of forced to follow him, and I don't think that's a good way to handle things. And I think the root of this issue, something I was posting about a little bit on Twitter, something I think that people miss a lot about this whole thing, the dynamic people aren't talking about is I think Kanye is used to being the man in the room, in his other industry and hip hop or whatever really it is. Kanye is going to, of course, dominate the room. It's Kanye West. This guy is a big-time rapper, big-time artist who makes really, really... I like his music a lot. I think he makes great music. At least every album, at least, there's songs that I like a lot. So I'm sure he's used to being that guy in the room. You don't want to get... You're not going to talk over Kanye. You're not going to one-up Kanye. He's going to sort of set the frame and have control of the room. You're going to be listening to him because he's the man. He's Kanye. But I think that works in his other industry. I think that works and probably even helps him to a degree in like hip hop and that whole game. It's all about like being the man. But if you're going to talk about things like a presidential run, or just even getting into politics in general, and like going on these different podcasts and having these conversations, you need to be you can't just rely on everybody acquiescing to you and being like, and if somebody takes umbrage or has a question about something you're saying, you can't rely on them just being afraid to question you because you are Kanye or you're Ye or this huge uber celebrity. So you try to like leverage that a little bit to where you don't actually have to like present well thought out points of view. You just sort of rely on this mega stardom to make people a little bit, I don't want to say like intimidated, but just, nobody wants to be the guy that's like being hard on Kanye or like making Kanye look bad. But I think if you're Kanye, you need to it was a very basic pushback from Tim. It was like, who is they? And it's like, we want you to kind of like be specific. And I don't think that that's too much to ask. I think if you're going to say like Jewish people are attacking me as a sort of a collective, I think you should then be able to be like, look, this happened, this person, this Jewish guy, this, like maybe he actually has some kind of point, or maybe if he could explain himself well, you would, people listening would be like, damn, like that is pretty crazy that there's like all these people, all these Jewish people that are like going after him. Like maybe something's going on there. Maybe there's something to what he's saying. But if you're just going to get questioned and then immediately, it was, like the smallest breeze of pushback. And if you can't take that, and instead of coming back with a well-formulated sort of coherent explanation or I don't know, like argument or something, like just being able to relay what the thoughts in your head, what you think is going on, because obviously that's coming when you go on these podcasts and you're like, all the Jews are coming after me. It's like, okay, you should expect to clarify. And even if he can't clarify himself, even if he doesn't feel up to that, like I said, he's literally got in his entourage, in the room, the two most like notorious political personalities of all time who love to talk and who could have taken over. He didn't even allow them to take over. So I think they all looked bad. I think Ye looked really bad. I think Milo and Fuentes looked pretty pathetic because they had to follow him out of the room and make sure that they stayed on good standing with him. And I think that's the difference between the dynamic between like Fuentes and Milo right now. I'm sure I don't think they're pushing back on Ye at all. I don't think they're like asking Ye any kind of hard questions or making sure that he's not saying anything too outlandish. And I think that like with Tim Pool, I think Ye could kind of sense that there was going to be a little bit of pushback, and that it wasn't just being a yes man for Kanye. And yeah, man, just not a good look, I don't think. Pretty fascinating stuff. I kind of feel bad for I don't know, I kind of feel bad for Tim. I think he's sort of had he's been stressed out lately, and he was looking forward to this. I thought he was going to have Elon Musk on. I think he was hinting to have Elon Musk on. I still think that might be happening soon. But then he had these guys on, and I don't think any of the criticisms levied at Tim Pool are really too accurate. I did not see him constantly interrupting Kanye. I didn't see him being a dick to Kanye. I just saw a very rudimentary, like, hey, can you kind of elaborate on this? Can we sort of have a little bit of an elaboration on who you're talking about, who exactly is coming after you, like what's going on here? And Kanye was not able to roll with that in the slightest. And yeah, I think if you're really trying to get into this realm of sharing ideas and like waking people up and that, I think you're going to need to be able to sort of sit there and have a conversation and not just rely on being the man, and that people aren't going to challenge you at all. So that's my take on it, man. Fun stuff. And yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on in general right now. I'm loving Twitter at the moment. I'm tweeting a lot. Please follow me at Decided Yet Free over on Twitter, and I'm going to keep posting there. It's a lot of fun, and I'm going to keep making some content on here. I'd like to move over to like Twitter video or something eventually, but sticking with YouTube for now. So I appreciate it, guys. Please like, subscribe, and follow, all that good stuff. We're going to keep it going. Take care.